Projector's on?
Oh,
hey, there you go. Sick.
All losers. All of you.
Okay. Ignore the Minecraft in the background. Anyway. I gotta full screen this. There we go. All right. Cool. Okay, we can actually get started now. Sick. Let me turn on my slides over here. Scroll all the way up. Okay. So we did announce ahead of time to like download Godot if you want to, and also pre-install those project files if you want to. Has anyone here not pre-installed Godot and pre-installed the project files?
I did install the Godot, but
Okay.
install
But you already installed Godot?
Yes.
Sick. Okay. So the way we're gonna go about doing that, only if you're interested. Like you don't need to download the project files, but I would recommend having it just so you can kind of like tinker with stuff. Yeah.
Real quick, how many of you guys have not downloaded Godot? Anyone? Everyone has downloaded it? Very cool. Go ahead. What version should you download, Matt?
4.2.1. If you want to play with the project files, which I suggest you do, 4.2.1 stable. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the entire process. It's pretty quick anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. All right. So the way we're gonna go about doing this is we're gonna open up GodotEngine.org. You can also just go on Google, search up Godot, and it's probably the first result. From here, we're not going to download latest because for some reason when I use the newer version of Godot with those project files that I like supplied to you guys, my stuff was kind of bugging out. My computer kept crashing, so I don't suggest that just for this particular workshop. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a previous version, which is right over here.
Hey, welcome guys.
Yo.
Go download Godot.
And then we're going to scroll down until we find Godot 4.2.1. Okay, and you're going to want to download 4.2.1 stable. You press download, and then you choose depending on what platform you're actually on. I believe I also give me a second. I believe I also like wrote the link down on Discord, but anyway. Yeah, pick what platform you're actually using. What's nice about Godot is it's very lightweight. So you're not downloading an installer to then install Godot. You just download Godot itself. And once you double click it, the engine's open right there. I've already got it open, so I'm not going to do that. For the project files, you would go on Godot, you'd go on Discord, open up the VGDA server, go to announcements, and you got to scroll up a little bit, but it's the GitHub thing that I linked. I'm showing it right here. So you would press that, visit the site. And then from here, you would press this green code button and you download zip file. Okay, and that should be in your system now. From there, I'm now going to show you guys the importing process of like actually importing the project into Godot. So I would open up Godot first. Oh, it's already open. Okay, I'm going to have to exit this then. Oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Double click Godot to open it. And then one of the buttons is import. Does anyone want me to pause? Pause?
Do you have Word files again?
The project files? It's going to be on Discord. It's in our announcements channel. And it's going to be that GitHub thing that I linked. And the importing process is basically you press this import button over here, and then you double click. Click the project files that you just downloaded. Yep. Let me actually look for them in the first place. So it's going to be this right here. For existing downloads, recognize. Okay, give us just a second. We're having a little more technical difficulties.
Right, in the meantime, anyone need help downloading Godot? Everyone's got it?
Who's got who got says Bill?
You said that the project files work best on like the earlier version of Godot. I have the later version, so
Okay. Yeah, just recommend
Still-
go ahead and download.
Good.
I just hope that.
Well, Godot, like,
Yeah.
we're talking megabytes here, that should be.
This has some.
I still have a thing that says Godot underscore V 4.2.1. It seems like I can get into it. Is that if I notice you have like a actual maybe shortcut? Does it make sense to make that shortcut or?
You can make a shortcut, like just put it on your desktop so it's like really easy access. But you don't have to. You don't have to make a shortcut technically. Yeah.
So what do we download? How do I download the GitHub for Godot?
Okay. So when you open the GitHub page, you're gonna press that green code button, and then you're gonna press download zip. I'm actually gonna zoom past this a little bit because technically I'm having you download the project files just to play with them, but you don't need to actually be playing with those project files to follow the workshop. So I'm actually gonna jump into the workshop. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna open up Godot real quick for workshop. Okay, sick. All right, so this is what Godot looks like. What I want to focus on right now is everything on this side. So all of these are nodes. So basically everything in Godot is made of nodes. Like if you think of like a Lego set, Godot is a bit like a Lego set. Like you have a bunch of Legos that are all like different shapes. So Godot is kind of similar in that regard. It's like a bunch of, so instead of having Legos of different shapes, you have nodes with different functionalities. For those of you that are familiar with Unity, I want to say it's the equivalent of a game object, but it's honestly more the equivalent of a component because like imagine in Unity if you can only add one component per game object, and if you wanted to add multiple components to a game object, you have to add a bunch of children game object to that each have the single node that you want to add to it. So that's kind of what a node is, like analogous to for Unity. I'm gonna make a temporary scene here. So again, different nodes provide different functionality. So like let's say I want to add like an entity. Well, let me do this first actually. I'm gonna make a level scene real quick. Make a new folder. Another one called scenes. Okay, so let's say I want to add like an entity, something that has like dynamic movement, like maybe AI attached to the movement. A node type that I would want to add to that, or the node type I would want to use for that is static body 2D, or sorry, not static body 2D, character body 2D. So character body 2D works really well for like entities in games. If an entity is going to have like a really simple like movement ability, you can just opt for like a standard node 2D, to be honest. Now looking at objects, if you want like a stationary object in your game, like a wall, right? Like a wall or like a house, you might opt for a static body 2D. Okay, so that would just be like a stationary object. If you want something that like moves around, like let's say like in a side scroller, like you might have a platform that's kind of like moving back and forth, you might opt for an animatable body 2D, which is actually a form of static body 2D. It's just a form that moves. That's pretty much it. And then let's say you want like a collectible item. If you want like a collectible item, you might use an area 2D. So right now I've talked about entities, objects, and items. So I'm gonna like oversimplify games for now and say like every game is composed of like three basic things, right? Like an entity, an object, and an item. So we're kind of gonna be going through those three like components one by one as we do this workshop. So just to show another example, this is why I have Minecraft open actually. Let's see, can I open it? There we go, nice. We're gonna open this. So for like entities, let's say, right? If you want to add an entity like these slime over here or these villagers, like if you were to make Minecraft in Godot, you might use, let's go back to Godot real quick. You might use a character body 2D for that. Now, I know that says 2D and Minecraft is very much a 3D game, but like if you imagine that Minecraft is like maybe Terraria or something, like imagine like Minecraft is a 2D game, you would use a character body 2D for that. I believe there's a character body 3D for Godot. That's probably like the actual equivalent of like the stuff that we're seeing in Minecraft. A block like a grass block right here that's completely stationary, you can't move through it. You might opt for a static body 2D for that. And then like a collectible item, so like if I drop this here and I can walk over it to pick it up, you might use an area 2D for that. And I'll explain why you specifically use an area 2D for something like a collectible item. All right, so we're gonna start by making a player. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I just made one. So I literally press the plus button, and I create a node of type 2D scene, and I just name it level, and I save it. To be honest, don't feel obligated to follow along because I'm gonna be moving like kind of fast. Like I'm mostly just like trying to explain like super basic concepts. So I'm gonna be like putting shit together like kind of quickly. Yeah. But that's effectively how I did it. Don't save. Okay. So we're gonna make a player. A player is a type of entity. So we're gonna use a character body 2D for that. I'm gonna hit that plus button here, and instead of making a node 2D, a node 3D or whatever, I'm gonna use character body 2D. Okay, so different nodes have different functionalities, right? A character body 2D node has the functionalities for entities. One thing that's really nice about this is if I go ahead and add a script, this script has like templates, right? So you can choose a template so that it kind of like automatically like writes code for you. In our case here, character body 2D has a template called basic movement. And if I select that, I'm gonna do this just for organization purposes. I'm gonna make a scripts folder and add it here. If I create this, now we've got all this code here, and I didn't need to write any of this. This was automatically written for us. That's one functionality that a character body 2D provides you that another kind of node like wouldn't provide you. Yeah.
I just have an issue with trying to get the first key, but since it's keeping me out.
Sick. Thank you. All right. Yeah, like let's say if I try to make a player with like a node 2D, you can technically do it, but you're like playing this game on hard mode if you want to make a character with a node 2D rather than making a character with a character body 2D. Especially because this would not give you that like movement template. But anyway, let's get rid of that real quick. Now, here's a problem. Okay, so we've started making our player, but our player is freaking invisible. Like we have no way of actually being able to see our player. And a character body 2D doesn't give you the functionality to like add a picture to a character. Okay, so character body 2D just does not have that functionality whatsoever. So how do we actually make it so we can see our player in the first place? Well, again, Godot is kind of like a Lego set, right? So since this doesn't have the functionality that we want it to have, like we want to be able to add a picture to this, all we have to do is tack another node to it that does have that functionality that we want. So in my case, I'm going to select this guy and I'm going to add a node of type sprite 2D. Now sprite 2D, the capability of that is it can like hold a picture. Okay, so all I had to do was add a node to this that is able to hold a picture, even though character body 2D itself isn't able to do that. Scroll down real quick. And then from here, I can just, I'm gonna open my assets folder over here, go to sprites. Night.png here has like all the player character sprites, so I'm just gonna drag that in. I'm gonna use a thing called regions, just so I can single out one of these sprites. And then there we go. Now we can actually see our player. If you want to go further, we can animate this guy, but Sprite 2D doesn't have the functionality for animating. So what would we do in that case? We would switch the Sprite 2D out with an animated Sprite 2D, but we're not going to do that yet. That's gonna be like towards the end of the workshop. I think that's like literally the last thing we do. Now, let me actually save this scene real quick. We're gonna call it player. Now Godot is made up of nodes, but it's also made up of scenes. And a scene is basically a collection of nodes. So everything here, this all makes up one scene. What scene does it make up? The player scene. If we go here to like the finished game, which we don't have to worry about this too much right now. This is kind of the thing that if you guys want to tinker with it, you can tinker with it. All of these nodes from top to bottom, these all make up one scene. What scene? The game scene, as shown here in like the window. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Unity, a scene is effectively the equivalent of a prefab. For those of you that are not familiar with it, a scene is effectively a reusable asset. So like, let me actually get rid of all of this real quick. I'm also going to rename the top node here to player. Cool. So technically, I could have made my player inside of the level. I could have done this. I could have done character body 2D right here, named this guy player, then added the sprite, and then added, like actually drag the sprite into the sprite 2D property. I could do that. But if I want to make like a level 2, let's say I make a level 2 right here. I'm going to save this real quick. If I make a level 2 and then I want to make my player, like I want to also have the player in level 2, then I would have to make all this shit again. Character body 2D, and then add the sprite to that, and then rename this guy to player, and then actually drag the sprite into here. But what's nice about a player scene, as we have it here, is this becomes a reusable asset. So instead of making everything all over again, we can just press this like linker button, and then select the player over here. And everything that we made before automatically kind of like gets copy pasted in there. So if I drag in, our player is really small right now, but if I drag in, there's our player inside of the level. And then if we want to have our player in level 2, which of course we'd want to have the player in level 2, linker button, player. And then there's everything that we already like pre-configured. Open this real quick. All right. So you have like a very basic player right now. We'll come back to that in a bit. I'm gonna actually start making a little bit of our actual level. The way we're gonna do this is we're gonna move on from entities to objects. Okay, so we're gonna make an object right now. If you recall, one of the ways we can make an object, like a stationary object, is we use a static body 2D. So I'll add that right now, static body 2D. Then this, I'm gonna make this like a platform. Static body 2D has a similar problem to character body 2D where it doesn't have built in the functionality of like putting a picture in there for a visual. So again, just like we did with the player, we just tack on the node to it that has the functionality of holding a picture. What is it? Sprite 2D. In our case here, I'm gonna drag in platforms. And I'm gonna use regions again. Don't worry about following along for this. Because I'm gonna delete this in like a couple minutes anyway. You'll see why. I'm just gonna single out that one platform at the top there. And then boom, now we've got our platform right there. I'm gonna move it down. Okay, so now we've got our player and we got our platform. A little bit of a problem is if I play test this right now, we can't see shit. So the way we fix that is we're gonna add another node that has another different functionality. It's called camera 2D. This like purple outline here is basically what's gonna be shown in the camera. I'm just gonna zoom this in because our player is really freaking small, and so is our platform. Okay, so by default, so the functionality of Camera 2D is once we start playing this game, what we see in our like game view is whatever's like inside of this camera. So when I hit play again, there you go. Yeah. Now there's a little bit of a problem here. We've got a player and we've got a platform. So the player should be landing on the platform, right? But he's just falling right through like a dumbass. Like, what is that? What's going on? Falling through again? Why is that? Well, if you give me a moment to scroll down my slides here. The reason why is because Godot, and by extension Unity, does not detect collisions with pictures. Like, that's not built into the engine. It doesn't detect collisions with pictures. What it actually detects collisions between are what you call collision-shaped 2Ds. That's another node type that we're gonna explore right now. So if we go into the player scene, we've actually got this warning symbol here, and it's precisely because I didn't add a collider to it in the first place. So we're gonna add that now. So I'm gonna type in collision-shaped 2D. And if I go here, you can select from a variety of like different shapes. Like you can make it a circle, you can make it a rectangle, you can make it like a world boundary, which is basically like a line that extends infinitely. So if you have it like this, that could be like an infinite floor. If you have it going up that way, it could be like an infinite wall. In my case, I'm just gonna pick a circle shape. Gonna shrink this down, move it down just like this. And then now we've got an actual collider on our player. Likewise, we're gonna need a collider on our platform because again, it's detecting collisions between multiple colliders. Like it still can't detect a collision between a collision-shaped 2D and a picture. It's gotta be between a collision-shaped 2D and another collision-shaped 2D. So I'm gonna add that to my platform right now. Platform has a warning for the same exact reason. It needs a collider. So let's add that, collision-shaped 2D. This time I'm gonna make it a rectangle. Shrink this down a little bit. Okay, so now we've got our actual collider. And so when we hit play, the platform actually catches the player. Okay, and just to sort of further the point of the fact that Godot cares about collisions between collision-shaped 2Ds, like if I move this collider to a weird place, like up on the player's head, again, it's not gonna detect a collision between the player's feet and the platform because the player's feet is just a picture, right? So if I hit play now, it's gonna catch the player's head instead of the player's feet. Hence why I decided to have that collider be down here. Now, technically, if you had like a tunnel that was like shorter than the player can go through it just because the collider doesn't encompass the entire player. But we're not going to be making tunnels for this workshop, so we don't have to really worry about that. Let's see. Okay, so if we were to build out the level, one thing I could do here is I could take this platform and duplicate it. That was Control D or Command D. I could duplicate it. I could duplicate it again. Duplicate it yet again. And I could do that over and over again. And because it's just that one sprite, like our level's gonna be still pretty barren. So I could add more nodes that are like maybe like a different colored platform or like a wall or something. And it'd be a lot of tedious work. So we've got another way of constructing a map that isn't just using static body 2Ds. Yeah, go ahead.
There's no way to duplicate it so that it automatically places itself like to the right or to the left.
As far as I know, there isn't. There might be, like my knowledge of Godot is probably like beginner slash intermediate. There might be, but you'd have to look that up. Yeah. So instead of using a static body 2D, another thing we can use is what we call a tile map. So I'm going to add a node here of type tile map. Okay, from here, we actually need tiles to play around with. So I'm going to set this up really quick. Drag in world tile set. Oh, actually, that's not how you do it. New tile set. Go to tile set here. I'm going to drag world tile set into here. Automatically create tiles. So now we've got an entire tile set to choose from. So it's not just that one platform anymore. Now I can pick from a grass block, a dirt block. I can pick from a tree, actual tree over there, some bushes, like a bridge. So I can just place this around. Like I can do level design until my heart's content, right? I can make a long grass walkway here. I can make stairs over on this side. I can give this thing some breadth, so I can add dirt blocks to the bottom. I could add like an actual tree. Actually, I'm not gonna take the time to make that, but we could add like one of these, right? So it didn't take that much work for me to configure this tile map, but there's so much more versatility with this. Okay, this gap here is bothering me, so let me fill this in real quick. There we go. Now, if we hit play, our player is falling through again. Because again, it doesn't detect collisions with pictures, it detects collisions with colliders. Our player already has a collider, but our tile map currently doesn't have a collider. So you can actually set that up very easily. We go to physics layers, add element, go to tile set real quick. I'm gonna paint the physics layer. And then this is like your collision shape, and you can just apply this across a bunch of different tiles. So if I click this, I've applied that shape to that tile, and I could apply it across a bunch of other ones. I really only needed to apply it to the grass block. So now, when I hit play, our player is actually getting caught by the grass blocks. Our player is currently able to move through this tree. If you want the player to not be able to move through the tree, you can add like a collider to that as well. And that's going to be these tiles here, so I can just click on those three. And then now the player can't move through it. Like I'm holding the left button and it can't go through it, no matter how much I press it. Open up the slides again. Close. Okay, now, someone tell me, I don't know if I've explained it super well, but this tile map right here, is this a node or a scene? You guys can just blurt it out if it's a node. Oh, okay. So a couple people thought it was a scene. So this is a node because it's not the entire collection. Like this entire collection here makes up a scene, but this is just like an individual node. Now, if I had gone out of my way to hit plus here and add the tile map and then configure it here, like this would have been a scene. So this is actually just a standalone node, and I just set this up inside of this one level. And the problem with that is if I want to use this tile map in another level, which I probably would, like I probably want the multiple levels to kind of like share an aesthetic, I'd have to add tile map, create a new tile set, go here, drag it in, and do all of that again, right? Which is a lot tedious work, right? So again, we established earlier that scenes are like reusable assets. So like, damn, I should have thought to make tile map like a scene earlier instead of just like a standalone node. Now I have to make it all over again. But actually I don't, because I can actually just go here. Let me actually erase all of this real quick. All right, sick. And since this thing is like pretty much configured, I can just right click. What do I have to? Oh, I actually hit Control D. Let's do that. I can just right click this and press Save Branch as Scene. I'm gonna go to New Scenes, Save. Okay, so now it's a scene. If I press this, it opens up like the actual scene window. So now, instead of reconfiguring that entire tile map, I can just hit this linker button and press tile map. And now we've just copy pasted the entire tile map here, and then I could make this be something else entirely. Maybe this could be like the highest level or something like that. And then this could be like just a regular like temperate level. Okay, so I'm not a big level design guy, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. Actually, let's maybe expand it a little more. All right, good enough for me. So we've talked about entities and objects so far. So I'm gonna move on to the last thing, which are items, right? I mentioned earlier that Area 2Ds work really well with like collectible items, and the reason why is this. Let's make this not a tile map. Wait. Yeah, let's make this not a tile map. Let's make this an Area 2D, which we can do by right-clicking and changing type to Area 2D. Rename it as well. So this is gonna be a coin. Spoiler alert, it's gonna be a coin, a collectible coin. I'm gonna save this as well, and then I'm gonna add. It's got a warning. Same reason that the static body 2D had it. Same reason that the character body 2D had it. It needs a collider. This is a little different though, because even though this has a collider, it doesn't like physically interact with its environment the way that the static body 2D and the character body 2D does. Like when a static body 2D and a character body 2D collide, like they kind of stop each other, right? Like you can't move through a wall. But for an Area 2D, your collision shape, let me actually preset this to a circle and zoom in on that real quick. This circle becomes something that you can just like walk right through. And the idea here is when you walk through this circle, we can trigger other things to happen in response to you like walking through that circle. Like even in Minecraft, like, hold up, how do I do this? F3B. Okay, so like different entities here have like hitboxes, right? They've all got hitboxes, but these are like physical hitboxes. Like when I walk into a villager, like it pushes the villager around. But like if I drop an item, that has a hitbox too, except I can walk right through this one. Here's me walking right over it. That's actually not super visible, so if I throw this, I can just walk right through it. So like if you were to make like this item collectible like this here in Minecraft, but you wanted to make it in Godot, you would probably opt to use an Area 2D for that. So I'm gonna keep it simple with our coin. I'm just gonna make it so that when a player walks over a coin, the coin just gets deleted. Okay, we're just gonna keep it as simple as that, because like if we wanted to actually add points to a player, we'd have to make like a whole point system and stuff, and that's a little bit more complicated. Okay, we want our coin to actually be visible in the first place, so I'm gonna add a sprite 2D. I'm gonna add the coin PNG here, but we only want one of these sprites. The reason why we have all of these multiple sprites, I'll show you guys in a bit, but you just want one of them for now. Gonna shrink this down just like this. And I'm also gonna shrink down our collision shape so it actually matches the shape of our sprite. And there's our coin. Last thing I'm gonna do for now is add a script to it. I'm gonna save this in the scripts folder. And there we go. Now, when we walk over this coin, like I'm actually gonna place one down in our level here. Coin. And I'm gonna move it a little bit to the right. If we walk over this coin, nothing happens. That's because we haven't actually programmed the coin to do anything when that area gets passed over. So we're actually gonna work on that right now with something called signals. So if I select the coin here and I select this coin node, which is of type Area 2D, and then I hit this node window here, we have a bunch of different signals. These are basically like events that can happen with the coin, and we can respond to that event. One example of this is body entered. So when a body enters that collision shape 2D, then we can respond to that and have certain things happen. I'm actually gonna, this is exactly the one that we're gonna use. So I'm gonna double click that, hit connect, and there's our on body entered signal. We don't need everything else in here for now, so I'm just gonna delete it. So the idea is when something walks over this area, whatever code we have written here gets run in response to that. So this isn't one example of a signal. Another example of a signal, I'll just make this real quick, I'm gonna delete this, is a timer. So here's another node type. It's of type timer. Pretty self-explanatory what it does, but it has a signal called timeout. So let's say I play this timer, and right now I have it set to like 1 second, and then that 1 second finishes, this timeout function gets called. So we can write code inside of this timeout signal so that we can respond to that timer finishing. So that's another example of signal. But we're not going to do anything with this, so I'm going to exit out of this. We're going to go back to our coin script. And then I did mention earlier that I want to simplify this by just having the coin delete itself when we walk over it. So the way you delete things in Godot is with something called queue-free. So now when we go back to our level and we play it and we walk over this coin, it gets deleted just like that. I think the last thing I want to cover here is animations. So right now, our scene's pretty barren. I'm not really gonna do much to fix that problem, but what's especially making that problem bad is that our player is a completely static sprite. Our coins are completely static sprites. Or, well, we have one coin. Our coin is a completely static sprite. We can fix that with an animated sprite 2D. I'm actually going to delete the sprite 2D here because I don't really want that there anymore. The animated sprite 2D has both the functionality of holding a sprite and then changing across different sprites like over time. So I'm going to make new sprite frames. Select that. We only want one animation for our coin, which is going to be like a twirling animation. So I'm going to add that really fast. I'm going to change this to 10 frames per second. And then I'm going to go to Assets, Sprites, and then, oh. Okay. I'm going to change this real quick to 12. I'm going to change this to 1. Okay, so the reason why we have the multiple coins here is, you guys know how a movie is basically just a series of pictures like played in really quick succession? That's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're just going to be playing these sprites in really quick succession. So I'm going to select all of these right now, add 12 frames, and then when I hit play here, there's our twirling animation. This button right here is basically like play on start. So every coin, as soon as you start playing the game, is automatically going to start playing this animation. So if I go back to my level and I hit play, there we go, our coin's animated. We can do the same for our player. See here. We're going to switch the sprite 2D out with an animated sprite 2D, just like before. So I'm going to add animated sprite 2D, delete this. I'm going to make a new thing of sprite frames over here. This is going to be 10 frames per second as well. And then we're going to add a tile set, but it's going to be the night PNG tile set. Change this setting real quick. And right now, all I want is like an idle animation. So that's just going to be these 4. Hence why this one's marked idle. We've got a run animation, a roll animation. We're not really going to worry about the other ones. We're just going to worry about the idle animation. Select these. And if I hit play, there's our player doing its idle animation. It's just bouncing up and down. And now, when we hit play, there you go. Our player's animated. But it's a little janky because the player's feet are like sinking into the ground. This would be more obvious if I actually move the player down here. There, the player's feet are like kind of sinking into the floor a little bit. And then the reason for that is going back to the collider, right? We care about collisions between colliders, not collisions between pictures. And right now, our collider is above the player's feet. So the player's feet has to sink into the tile map a little bit before it actually hits the collider in the first place. So we can just mediate that real quick by doing that. And then when we hit play, boom. Now our player is actually like on top of the tiles. see here. Okay, that's it. That's actually all I really wanted to show for now. Like super basic rundown. I don't really expect you guys to remember much of what I went over today, especially because when I was putting shit together, I was doing it really quickly. Really, the only thing I want you to like walk away with here is like, if you want to oversimplify a game, you've got entities, objects, and items, and each of those types has like a corresponding like node type to it, right? So an entity works well with a character body 2D, objects work well with static body 2Ds or tile maps, and then items work well with area 2Ds. The last thing I want to say is, if you actually want to be able to get hands-on with this, like if you're intrigued enough by Godot to want to get hands-on with this, follow this tutorial right here, Bracky's tutorial. Incredible tutorial. This guy Bracky's is like probably the most prominent like game dev YouTuber there is. This guy like retired for a couple years. I think I said this before, but this guy retired for a couple years, but then Godot came out and he really liked it. So he's like, screw it, I'll unretire just for Godot. And then he started making tutorials on Godot. So if you're interested, follow one of these tutorials, and that's all I got. Thanks.